Hey guys, this is Dark Skeleton, and we're going to take a quick look at 2 cards from the new Goblins vs. Gnomes expansion set. But first, a quick shout out to Suatana2 for letting me know about these 2 cards. So first up we have the Mech-Bear-Cat. This is a Druid minion for 6 mana, giving you a 7/6 mech. The name is a ridiculous reference to South Park, Mech-Bear-Cat of all things. And whenever the 7/6 takes damage, you add a spare part card to your hand. Now if you don't know already, the spare parts are weak cards that do things like +1 health to a minion for 1 mana, +1 attack to a minion for 1 mana, give a minion taunt, or put a minion in stealth mode. On its own, this card seems pretty comparable to a Boulder-Fist Ogre, which has 6 attack and 7 health, slightly better slat distribution in my opinion, for the same mana cost. Plus you have the mech synergy, and the fact that you're adding spare part cards to your hand, which are spells, means you can have the ability to proc a Violet Teacher, or maybe if you want to go a different route, Gadgetzan Auctioneer. It kinda makes you wonder what the intended purpose of this card is, and I'm thinking it probably belongs in some kind of token deck. Being able to have extra throwaway spells that can let you summon 3/1/1s to the field as long as you have a Violet Teacher sounds pretty good for tokens. You could just use the spare part cards normally, but if you do it that way, is this card even going to be worth running? You gotta keep in mind that the effects of the spare parts are extremely weak on average. And on top of that, until you play the card from your hand, it's a liability. Your opponent might be able to force you to overdraw, they might throw down a Clockwork Golem, and Divine Favor Paladins might start to pop up with this set. So the only other likely possibility I see him being run in would be a heavy mech deck that just happens to be a Druid. But if you think about the fact that Boulder-Fist Ogre isn't running any high-end decks, then this card doesn't really seem that impressive unless you can find a real good use for those spare part cards. Though as I briefly hinted at, if you have a deck that synergizes with having a lot of cheap spells, then having those spare part cards could be more useful. Pretty similar to the Mech-Bear-Cat, honestly, is Toshley, a new 6-cost legendary which comes with a nice stat distribution of 5 attack and 7 health, and has effects that get you spare part cards. Very interestingly, this legendary, as a Battlecry and a Deathrattle, will add a spare part card to your hand. Now if there's one card I definitely see abusing spare parts, it's the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Not only does a spare part played with Gadgetzan Auctioneer allow you to draw a card and get the measly buff, but there's even a spare part which allows you to stealth minions, which is great for Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Now just with the Mech-Bear-Cat, the power of this card on its own seems about average, so of course I only think it will be run in any kind of deck which synergizes with low-cost spells. Now as someone who doesn't play a lot of Miracle Rogue, I can't necessarily say whether or not it's going to be in that obvious deck choice, but that's definitely the first place I'd be looking. You know, now that I think about it, it's also possible that Blizzard will add in some kind of synergy specifically with mech cards that the spare parts can do. Now that's just pure speculation, but it kinda makes sense that if you take a wrench to a robot, it will have some kind of good effects. Anywho, I've been Dark Skeleton, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more Hearthstone content, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.